Hey everybody, it's Ben from Wishlist Member, and today we get the pleasure of talking to Michael from LifetimeInvestor.com. He's a longtime Wishlist Member user and site owner, and he's agreed to give us a peek behind the scenes of his membership site. So we're going to see what his members see, how he's laid that stuff out. He's even going to show us some of the stuff in the admin area, and also share some insights and things that he's learned along the way. So, Michael, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, if you would, I know that we've talked a little bit offline, but would you kind of explain to everybody what is your business and how did you kind of get started with it and get to where you are today?
Well, let me go ahead and just go onto our homepage here.
Yeah.
Well, the business Lifetime Investor is all about, at this point, because I changed it over the years, it's just about stock trading. And we're helping people just improve their stock trading skills. And we've just kind of recently upgraded our site, our homepage, to kind of just make things a little simpler. About there's kind of 4 ways to do things, and then we go on from there. So we've been doing this for, well, I'll kind of go into the thing. I started Lifetime Investor about 2015, and there's a good lesson in this. I kind of got a little too I can't think of the word, but I decided that I'm going to do a whole bunch of courses. So I ended up doing
Okay.
courses for stocks and bonds and real estate and tax liens and gold and silver, and took me a long time to write and produce everything. And I didn't really think about kind of how I was going to actually market all that. So that became a problem when I finally finished everything. I was like, oh, and then I realized, oh, I can't really effectively market without having a massive budget, all those things. So I kind of put it all on hold for a couple of years, came back in 2019 and decided just to focus on stocks, which was one of
Gotcha.
my first loves. So that's one of the kind of the lessons. And I also didn't really test out, did people really want all these courses, and could I actually, do the marketing? So the lesson was I really should have just looked for the demand first and then produce the content afterwards. It's a smarter way to go. I did it the more
Yeah.
complicated way. And I still have the courses, but a few of them I've done nothing with them. They're just sitting on the site, basically hidden because nobody can access them. But so I wouldn't recommend doing that, but definitely, do a little bit of testing. For this, I actually had gone out to, people I know in the community of stock investors, made sure this is something that people wanted. And then I started getting customers. I did some testing. I quizzed them
Mm.
in various different ways. You can do, I think I started off with a free uh, Google Sheets, just like a quiz I sent to people, and just kind of made sure that I had the demand there before I spent all the time building it. So
Yeah.
that's a smarter way to go. But that's how I learned it. I wouldn't do it this way again, but that's how it was.
Well, that's how it is. Actually, I'm sure that a lot of people listening or watching, and myself included, I'm sure we've recorded stuff, and it's sitting there. I've recorded a whole course, and I've never published it or anything, or I did for a while, but it wasn't something that I could sell, or nobody was interested in it. Like you said, I didn't test that demand.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
way back in, I guess 2015, or whenever you started to build your membership site, um, is that when you started with Wishlist Member, or
Yeah, I think I started in probably 2016 or 17.
right?
I think just up to that point, I was just building everything out. Um, I also made a mistake back then. I started with a different page builder, which it turned out not to be as evolved as I would have liked. So I had to eventually switch. I switched over to Thrive Architect, which really works well. And in fact, the
Yeah.
site has a little bit of a hybrid. My older courses are still done in the old one. And then I had again, anyone listening to this, pick one page builder, make sure it's a good one, and then stick with that. So, anyways, I
Yeah.
had some conflicts between the two, which I had to hire someone to kind of, work all that out. But, um, but yeah,
Yeah.
once I got all that done, put it up there, then I got Wishlist involved and got that plugin going and went through and protected all the data that needed to be done. And I found it really easy. That was one thing that really worked well. I mean, if you're always dealing with any kind of plugins, there's a lot of tech support sometimes involved, but I'd say Wishlist is one of the few that there were, as long as you just kind of went through the videos and you watched them and you kind of followed everything, I really had not very little problems with it, which is great because the less tech support we have to do, the better.
Yeah, for
So
sure. And that's, I mean, that's kind of where I wanted to go with it a little bit. Like, what made you actually initially choose Wishlist and then I guess stay up until now?
I just did my research. I mean, just like anything, I'd say that's probably one of the biggest lessons because once you pick something, it's very hard to undo it. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you have something that's quality. I just found Wishlist had a lot of features that I thought, well, I may not never use them, but they're there, which I appreciate. And like I think you can do drip content, things like that. I use it pretty straightforward. It's just certain pages are just protected. Some are protected for everyone. Some are just per the subscription or the product that they buy. So it's pretty simple how I put it all together. But I know you can do a lot more things with it. And especially, I think now you have this course cure. And so that's
Yeah.
something that even though I have a course, I didn't use that yet. I probably will because I wanted to just get that new course, which I just launched last week, kind of up and running before I did a lot of work, and also just to make sure that it's working. And before I, put tons of time and effort in, if nobody's buying it, then there's no point going through all the extra stuff. But I do like the fact, just like that course cure, I looked at it and it's like, yeah, you can do quizzes, and you can, can I have a lot more interactive, almost like if you're on Udemy or these other platforms, you can have people testing along the way, I think, and a lot of things like that. But I can show you too. I just did it a much simpler way.
Yeah,
But
for
that's
sure.
something that it's hard once you're in something like that, or even your page builder, make sure you do your homework first. I had another one just in terms of my email provider. I
Hmm.
think I started out with, I don't know if I should mention it, but it was MailChimp. But one of the
Sure.
things it's a great program, but I found I had an issue because I wasn't able easily to, if somebody was a prospect and then they became a customer, I wanted to take them off the prospect list and put them on the customer list. And I don't think I could do it in at the time
Hmm.
in MailChimp. So that was a problem. So I had to, do all my research. I ended up with Aweber, which works really well and really integrates nicely with Wishlist and also Samcart. That's my shopping cart. So,
Okay.
and those are things that too, once you're down that, but you just have to kind of make sure you do your homework,
Right.
watch as many videos you can of the products before you start. And, and that will really save you a lot of trouble down the road trying to undo things. It's like, I use QuickBooks for my business, and like, the once they got you, you're not leaving QuickBooks. It's just,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely not.
they got you back to no. Then now they're just raising their prices all the time.
No, for sure with the QuickBooks thing. So I think it's so hard when you're just starting out though, because you kind of don't know what you even need. That's the biggest issue. And so you sign up for these tools and then you realize, oh wow, I need to move people from the prospect list to the customer list. And for some reason I can't do that or whatever. That's why I we're always trying to do these case studies with people like you. Because I mean, you're a real membership site owner. You've had the problems, and you can kind of share your experience to help other people avoid avoid kind of some of the pitfalls. So that's really cool. I guess the
In fact,
next
I
thing
can show you
is
really quickly just kind of how
sure.
I've kind of using, because the one thing that you start learning as you're doing marketing, you want to start segmenting people. And you want to also, I use tags that really implement well between Samcart and Wishlist and Aweber. So if
Okay.
I kind of share my screen here for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right here. So here I just show, like, if somebody buys the Selling Stocks Mastery course, um, when they're added, these tags are applied. Are you able to see
Right.
this?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah. And so at that point, I don't have any tags that are being removed. But if somebody cancels, then I want to add the tag that says Mastery Canceled, and I want to remove the tag that says Mastery Purchase. And again, if they cancel, I have the same kind of thing. So you want to just be able to set up these kinds of things that work all the way through. So if somebody, it automatically, when those tags come, they go over to Aweber, and that either will trigger a campaign. In my case, I'm always interested to know if somebody cancels, why are they canceling? And
Right.
I see that's something too that I learned over the years. Most people don't want to they don't want to hear the bad news, you know. But I kind of figured, you know what, I want to know if somebody doesn't
Yeah.
like the product, I want to know why, because if I start seeing a bunch of the
Like a
same
trend.
comments, well, then I got something I need to fix. So I actually have it once if somebody cancels or unsubscribes, they automatically get sent to a quiz funnel that goes through, and then people can fill it out. And they just say, you know, it's going to be anonymous. You can say whatever you want. And those are things you learn things. In fact, I learned early on that one of the things that people want in my business is they want daily emails to be sent out at the end of the day, kind of saying about what's going on with the market trend. And I didn't do that because it was kind of a lot of work initially. So I thought, well,
Yeah.
you know, it's just more work. I'm basically a one-man shop with just some tech help here and there. So, but then I realized that was the number one thing that people were kind of saying, well, I really love the service, but we would really like this. So I implemented it, and I found a really easy way to do it, so I don't have to do tons of work. And that just chopped down the cancellations and unsubscribes by literally 90%. It made a gigantic difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was, and again, I wouldn't have known that unless I was willing to go back to my customers and say, hey, you know, what's going on. In fact, my latest course I just launched, the Selling Stocks Mastery, that
Hmm.
came out of quizzing, the customers saying, hey, what is the biggest issue you have in terms of stock investing? You know, where are you finding the most trouble? And by far the biggest one is knowing when to sell your stocks. It's easy to buy them, but when do you sell them? There's a lot of things that go along with it in terms of emotions. You sell too early, then you kick yourself. Oh, the stock, I sold it at 50 and it's 150 now. So then you beat yourself up. Or the other side, you don't sell it soon enough, and then you end up with a big loss. So all those things. So I discovered that was the biggest issue that people were having. So that was a natural product for me to come out with to address that need.
So yeah, there's so a lot to unpack there because we kind of
Yeah.
covered a lot. Obviously, the tail end of that we already kind of talked about, but it's so you're doing market research obviously to validate your idea, but the new products you're creating are based on what people who are already your customers are saying we need this or this is our problem. And
Yes.
so you've already kind of validated it, and so you know it's at least going to serve some people, and then obviously the hope is that it's you can get new customers from that too. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing, and I don't want to skip over this because you showed us was all that automation that you have going through how I guess Samcart and Aweber and then Wishlist are all connected via that tag system. And so
Yes.
that's really cool. I think a lot of people who maybe getting just started with memberships or whatever the case may be, they may not like think, okay, so I have Wishlist, but I don't need a CRM or like I don't need MailChimp or Aweber or any of those other providers. They think, um, I don't know. So, I mean, I've been there because you want to get started in a lean way, but I absolutely think that that's actually where you should start is building a list. Any thoughts that you have about that or?
Yeah, that's something my list isn't as big as it probably should be because a lot of my sales funnels have basically been very simple. When I started, it
Sure.
was like, I'm just going for the sale. So off of Google Ads or Facebook. Because when I first started, you're already busy working on the
Yeah.
site, you're working on the product, you have whatever work that you actually do for the membership.
Yeah.
And so you're like you end up kind of not doing the work that you need to get customers. So I
Right.
thought, let me do that. But and again, you're also having to deal with as the marketing side. You're dealing with landing pages and conversions, and is your copy, doing what it should? And there's a lot of pieces that go into it. So I decided, well, let me focus on if I can get people to convert just straight off cold traffic going to a sales page, then I know the page works. Then I can work on the funnel and get it to do other aspects of it with retargeting or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That was something that another mistake I made early on when I had all these courses. I thought, okay, before I even did anything, I was like, I'm going to be retargeting these people and doing this, and I signed up for this service and that service, and I had all these things going on, but with no customers because I wasn't really even. I spent all the time setting up everything, but I didn't really have the customers ready to go. So it was kind of almost like theoretical. And
Hmm.
so by the time then I realized I can't get the customers, there's too much, too many things going on here. Then
Yeah.
I had to kind of scrap it all and undo and then go
Ugh.
back to the basics. So
Well,
that's the, because I didn't have a
okay.
background in any of this. I actually came out of the music business. So this was completely different business for
That's
me.
interesting.
Yeah. So I was never dealing with online marketing and, websites. I had very basic stuff, but
So that's really interesting to me because I did beforehand I've looked at your site and I don't know if I was looking at the new course offer. I don't remember if it's the new one or if it was something else that you were selling. And that's actually what I want you to maybe walk us through next is kind of your how do people purchase? What's kind of the offer that you have out there? How is your membership structured? Is it a course? Is it like a monthly thing? And so if you want to share that, but I'm surprised that you said you don't have a marketing background and maybe you've learned it over time, but your
yeah.
landing pages and your sales pages are really, I thought they were really, really strong. In fact, I mean, I'm not a big investor myself, but I was like, oh, maybe I should buy this. So,
Good. That's good. Um, yeah. It's just, I've always been I like to learn stuff and I don't have a problem taking courses or buying courses and just kind of going through. I mean, there's so much info out there. You don't have to spend a lot of money these days,
true.
but it's just, you just have to, it's almost like 1 foot forward. You just kind of continually want to improve a little bit at a time.
Mm.
So that's what you do. And then of course, these days you have a lot of ways to test things to see if it's working. So I'll go to my homepage here. Oops. You can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just, I don't send people here, but it just kind of made us, this was a kind of a recent change, just saying, hey, there's just 4 things that you need to master if you want to do well in investing. It's, when to buy, what to buy, when to sell, and money management. And then basically really simple, here's how we can help. And here's the different products. We have this market trend advisory, we have stock picks,
Okay.
we have the selling stocks mastery, that's the online course. And then we have one, I don't have the course yet, so I just put a waiting list. So if
Gotcha.
somebody thinks it's interesting, at least I'm capturing those,
Yeah.
and I'm capturing those people. Then in the middle here, I actually have a quiz funnel, which I just set up pretty recently. And if I just click on this, it will take someone to just say, hey, if you're not doing well, what is blocking you from doing consistent so? And this kind of just goes through, I have little icons of the different personality types. And it's kind of a
Right.
fun thing, but it's also, I took the time to really do a little bit of, because, as a long-term stock trader, there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. And like, why do we do what we
Mm.
do? And there's different personalities. I won't go into all this, but, some people they don't really respect risk, and
Okay.
they just really, they're too scared. So as soon as they have a little tiny profit, they want to take it. And other people, they just going for the home runs like every single time. And they don't, but they're the ones that sometimes the
Yeah.
stock might drop 90% and they're still hanging on to it. So there's all these little things like that. So this funnel though will end up, you take the quiz, and then if you take the quiz after this, I won't click on it.
Sure.
Then you have the option to opt in to get your quiz results. And again, once they opt in, then you're actually tagging them with their different
Right.
personality, which you'll see here. They have names. And at
Okay.
that point, see in the Weber, then I can say, hey, I can follow up with people if they don't buy immediately, because after they get their quiz results, it comes as a video, also comes as a PDF. You can see I have a little report here
Gotcha.
that you can see, and then at that point, at the end of it, it's kind of explaining, hey, you're this personality. These are your strengths. These are your weaknesses that we've seen just dealing with many investors, and this is the product that would probably help you the most. And that's
Ah.
going back to our, the products we have over here on the homepage.
So that's really cool. Basically, you have these 4 products or 3, and you're working on the
Great.
4th. And yeah, but for somebody who comes to this and they're like, well, I don't even know what I need. You have that quiz there. They take that, and then that basically tells them, here's the product that you should buy or start at. That's really useful because I think a lot of people have multiple courses and different ways to start. And then for people coming in, they're like, whoa, you got 17 options here. Which one do I, where's
Yeah.
number one? So that's a very interesting thing that you've done there. What
I
is
found
that?
too that most of the people that subscribe are not beginners.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
what's interesting, and it's one of the things that you do when you're starting your marketing, you're like developing your avatar, like who's the
Right.
person I think is my customer, and it turns out it wasn't my what I thought was not actually
Yeah.
completely correct, which is good. So, but I would like to get from people that are more newer. So I do have another. Again, it all takes time, so you kind of do it a bit and you work on it. But I do have another funnel that I'm building now, which is going to Facebook and probably Google Ads too.
Hmm.
More of just a lot of instructional videos. You can watch them, and there's no call to action really. And then we will be retargeting those people with other things afterwards if they watch, sort of a certain percent. If they watch
Right.
50% of the video, we know they're
Yeah.
interested, then you can retarget. So that's another funnel that's being built slowly but surely.
It's a good strategy. So what did you use to build that quiz? Is that Thrive or is that some other
That,
tool?
that's one of those things that was just the happy. There's a lot of software out there, but again, you're going like, do I want to spend $100 a month just for the quiz software? And
Yeah.
amazingly, that the one in Thrive really worked well. I was able to do everything that I wanted to do. That kind of more expensive, individual ones let you do. So that was really great. So yeah, unless you segment everybody out and send you to different landing pages. So
Yeah, no, I wanted to mention that. I thought it was Thrive since I knew you used the architect. We actually just like just a couple weeks ago, in this past week, we actually pushed out more integration with Thrive. So we now there's more content protection stuff you can do in Thrive Architect. We
great.
integrated with their Automator plugin as well, so that you can do some automation stuff. So yeah, we love Thrive. They're a great page builder and great company too. All their plugins. So. Awesome stuff. So I guess you showed us the products there. If you want to maybe explain, I'm just curious, is it if somebody wants to buy stuff, and I'm sure it's all priced differently, but is it a one-time thing? Is it like a monthly pricing subscription? How do you kind of work with that?
So it depends. The two. Sorry, the little pop up here.
Yeah.
So the Market Trend Advisor and Stock Picks, those are both subscription models,
Okay.
and so you can subscribe just for a monthly basis or an annual basis,
Gotcha.
and you always get a free 7-day trial. That's just something that we always put in there, and yeah, and that's I've tested. In fact, I may be testing in 14 days. You just have to continually test things to see if they're
Yeah.
working. So those are both just on the subscription model, which I prefer. And then this the online video course, that's just a straight out purchase.
Gotcha.
So, so if I go into, so here I am, I'm in just the home page.
Hmm.
So if you purchase, oh, actually, I can show you this. Let me go back to the home page here. So this menu, if I click on these are actually going to my sales pages. So if somebody's just a visitor and they see we have these different things, these will go to the sales pages.
Gotcha.
And then, but once you're logged in, you're going to see the same ones, but these are actually now, because this is in part of the wish list protected content, these are now going to the actual products. And
Right.
so as an admin, I have access to all of it. So if I click on stock picks, yeah, so you'll just get, all the info here,
Right. The actual
and
product.
the different watch lists or whatever we have. Here's the Selling Stocks Mastery course. This I kind of wanted to go back to this again. This course is just really one page, and I just decided to make it look decent and just have every video in just a big giant scroll.
Yeah.
So to make it,
Um,
because I wasn't sure how well it was going to work. And then if, in terms of sales and all that, then I probably will go back and use your course cure to make it a much more better looking course.
sure.
And, I can do things when people get certain far, I can have the tests or whatever else that is offered through that.
Yeah, and so it's funny because I remember we talked about that a little bit offline or before we were doing this recording, and you told me that's how it was going to be, and I'm like, we have Course Cure, but if you would kind of explain a little bit, like why did you just do it that way to get started? I think you already kind of touched on it a little bit, but
Because it was just easier and
yeah,
faster. I just thought, well,
yeah,
as a new product, again, I don't want to spend tons of time. I wanted it's not really the, people hear about the minimum viable product, the
Yeah.
MVP. I didn't want to do it like that, but I thought, how can I just present it so it's simple and just see what people like? And also, if I decide to change things, it's not going to be a big,
Yeah.
because I don't really know, because it's really only been out just for a few days. I didn't want to turn it into a whole big course and spend a lot more time on it until I know it's actually kind of working. Or I may decide, hey, you know what? It needs a little bit more stuff. Because it's literally just videos and a couple
Yeah.
downloads. And I don't have any text. I kind of even said, well, before each video, should I even put the content, like what's the video about? And I thought, no, I'll just make it simple. So if I go back there, you just see it's, oops, that's not it. Yeah. Oh, the intro has a little text, but the rest of them don't. It just says like just the caption, and then
Sure.
you can play the video. So
Yeah.
that was just simple.
I found it. No, I think it's good. I mean, when you're testing out a new product like that, because like you said, you don't want to put in all that time, and then it's like, nobody actually wanted to buy it, and so I spent all this time on it. But even so, like you're going to spend time on a new product or something new that you're doing anyway. But you probably spend that more on marketing and like trying to sell it, or
Yeah,
on the sales page.
that's where the time's going. It's on the sales pages and
Yeah.
funnels and all that. Yeah, I mean, ideally, I always like to make things as best as I can. So I'm pretty sure. Again, the product just launched. I know it's going to sell. I'm fiddling with the price points too, so that I'm not quite sure. I try it here. I'll try it at this price. Eventually I'll find out what's the best price point, and then I'll probably at that point, make it a little more. And I also have a couple other bonus courses that were old ones that I did, back in 2015. I just threw them in there, but they're just like they're not even video. So again, those are probably two I will port over at some point to get them to work too.
Yeah,
But that's the nice thing though, that without having to build a whole nother course, it's built in wish list. So that's
yeah.
fantastic. I go down that route. I have it. I don't have to pay extra for it, and it's already there. And it'll also be, really nicely set up because I've seen other ones that
Yeah, and
download that.
it's probably easier for your members too, because on some of these platforms, like they have to have like a login for every course. And so if you have three courses, they have to have three different logins if they buy them all. Whereas with Wishlist, and sure, you can do this with other systems, but it's like you have a central hub where they have one login and they can see everything that you offer right there. And if they don't have access to something, you can try to upsell them to it. Um, I was, I'm You already kind of touched on, and I want to circle back to this, but the menu there. So your menu changes based on what access they have and if they're logged in or not, like you were saying. Um, and so interesting to note how you've kind of laid that out. Is there anything else in the members area that you've kind of done that way, or any kind of tips that maybe you wanted to share in terms of just how you've laid things out in the members area?
Um, yeah, they just oh, this is one thing I do want to talk about. Make sure when you're doing all these things that you thoroughly test everything, because when I did my own test purchase,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, I've got it all set up, and I was able to buy the product, and I logged in to here, and just I thought, well, let me check something, and there was one little box in Wishlist I didn't check. I think I
Mm,
turned it off because I did put through a tech support call or email, and they
yeah.
said, no, this should have been on. Well, basically, that person had access to everything.
Oh,
And it was just one little box. I think what it was, it was like I gave them access to all pages, and I had to turn that
right,
off. Yeah, so then I
right.
fixed that. But again, if I hadn't tested that, anyone who bought it would be like, "Wow, this is great! I've got everything they offer for free." So
No,
make sure you test everything out.
that's true. And when you're testing too, you have to use like a real user, like you can create a test user, but don't use your admin account because, like you said a second ago, you have access to
Yeah.
everything as the admin, so it does look a little bit different. Um, okay, so yeah, that's cool. I know you wanted to maybe show us the plugins, and maybe there was something unique in there that you're using, or um,
Yeah, there's something. This may not apply to a lot of people, but
sure.
let me go to. I found this plugin. This actually made things really simple. This is our stock picks, and you can see we actually have different charts inside here. Different things. This is actually a plugin that this is all done in a Google Sheet. And so I can literally just go into the Google Sheet, change something, and immediately and instantly updates in here, including for
Oh, that's
stocks,
useful.
giving you the current price and
Wow.
various other things that are going on. And it's just this really cool plugin because originally I was doing this. I'd have to log into the back end of the site, to update because in terms of what this is just a stock picking site. So we have
Right.
notes here, and then we have different watch lists or ready lists of stocks that are, the ready list means that they're ready to be bought now, and the watch lists are the ones that are just we're still watching them. But it meant every time, every day in the afternoon after the market closed, I'd have to log in, and then I have to literally go through each one manually and change everything.
Mm.
So I thought that's really too much work. And this plugin is called the Stylish Google Sheet Reader.
Okay.
And it's really easy to set up, but it's you just change it on in the Google Sheet, and it instantly does everything on the site. So I don't even
Wow.
to update this site. I don't have to even log in here at all.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's probably because once since the data is pulling from Google Sheets, like you're saying, you can probably have other things even like I think I saw a Google Sheet one time that was like auto updating the stock price somehow.
That's what this is doing.
Right, and so you didn't have to update the price; it just did it, like something built in, or it was an add-on to the Google Sheet. But so yeah, that could
Yeah,
save a lot of time. I don't know if that's applicable to a ton of people, but if it for the people it is, that's a huge game changer. So
yeah. I mean, anyone that needs some kind of a chart or a table
yeah,
within their site that maybe they have to change, and it's just not that easy to do it within. In fact, I don't even remember how I did it. I think I used some kind of table plugin, and it was like really awkward to change it. You had like
yeah,
this code, the
yeah,
table, and if you missed like a little comma, it got all messed up. And this is
okay,
like super easy. So, but yeah, but anyways, it's little things like that sometimes make your your life pretty a lot easier. And this was something too I discovered by quizzing my customers. They were like, "Hey, we'd love to get real time prices."
hmm,
You know, and in fact, I would like to have charts, and that's something I'm working on, so that you'd also have a little chart here. But that's something I don't have yet. But that's again by asking what customers want, I'm trying to give that to them.
no, for sure. So, well, that's interesting. One thing I did I'm just curious about too, if somebody's logged into like that page that you were just showing us, um, if they haven't purchased all of those items, because you're the admin, so you see all of the menu items, do they still see those items and it takes them to the sales pages, or is it just showing what they don't, you know?
Yes, you're correct. So I'm logged in as admin.
Right.
So this is let's go. Let me go back to say they've purchased this market trend advisory.
Yeah.
So what happens though if they're a member of StockPicks?
Hmm.
If they click on that, they'll get it. If they're not, it actually says the separate page comes up and says, you're not. If they had been a member and they canceled, it'll say, you're no longer a subscriber. You can click here to resubscribe. If they've never subscribed, it's like a little mini sales page, and then it sends them
Right.
to the actual sales page.
I see.
So you will get, depending on the levels, you can it'll change depending whether or not. And that's something I didn't have originally set up, and I thought, well, wow, if I have everybody seeing all the products,
Yeah.
I want to give them away. If first I want them to know that they exist, and second, if they don't own them, then if they click on it, they can get a chance to learn a little bit more about it, and then send them to the actual bigger sales page, which has the cart.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you just if you weren't already doing that, that way you had that idea. But I think a lot of people who have multiple products, they don't cross sell them effectively very well. But that's such an easy thing in the menu there, and you can do that through wish list. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to highlight that. So that's really cool. Um,
yeah.
well, we've talked about a lot of different things, and I guess we'll kind of wrap it up with just a few questions. What was what was maybe one of the more challenging parts of building this site and in this business? And it can be from a technical side or from a business side. Answer it however you'd like.
I'd say probably it's some of the techie stuff. Integrating with Facebook Pixels, and
Mm,
there's just integrating with Google Tag Manager. There's a
right.
lot of ways to do things. I've probably tried them all, and then I've had to kind of sometimes change them because they don't work as well. In
Yeah.
fact, I just I just switched over to a different. I have a plugin called. In fact, I'll show it to you. I can't remember the name of it because I just started using it. I think it's called Pixel.
Oh, Pixel Your Site? I think I just saw it.
Yeah, I wasn't using it, but I actually got somebody from Facebook contacted me so I could actually talk to a real person.
Wow.
So we actually able to set it up with their API and all these other things. And so that was just something that I had to reset up. But there's just a lot of things that you have to deal with. Like in my case, because we're dealing with money and investments, I wanted to, like you can see here, I have one called the terms pop up on user login. And so this one actually, when somebody subscribes, a pop-up comes up. I can fill in whatever the kind of the legal disclaimer language is, and then they have to click on it to accept it. So it's just for anybody who's doing a site that has any kind of more legal side. You want to have a little bit more legal protection for you, so you have these things, and so they have to accept that, as well as it points to like the terms of use and the other things. And that's something too for beginners or somebody. You make sure you have all those privacy pages and the terms of use, all those things in place, because if nothing else, you might actually get booted off of advertising platforms for not having one. And
I've seen that. So interesting answer from you, I guess, because you're saying a lot of these little technical pieces that you figured out over time. I can't remember because I talked with someone else who I think I was going to do a case study with, but I don't think that you hired anybody to like build the site for you, right? Like, did you work with a consultant, or I don't think so.
Well, okay. Well, I'll give you the sort of not long answer, but when I first started,
sure,
I kind of thought I looked at sites I liked and I thought, I want to do it like this. I couldn't do them with the page builder that I had, so I ended up hiring a company. And I didn't spend a lot of money, but I spent really money I didn't need to have spent. And they wireframed it and they did all these things. In fact, in the end, I had to get rid of a lot of that stuff because they were in the way and they were custom coded.
Yeah.
So in the end, you don't really need that anymore, but I do have somebody that I use that's on Upwork. Upwork's a fantastic resource. Yeah. And he's my tech guy when I run into problems. Just like anything, when you're dealing with a site and it's got a lot of plugins and then they're updating WordPress, they don't all talk together and you will get crashes and, different things that happen. So to have somebody you can call upon to think, hey, look, the site just went down, it's beyond I can fix some things, but a lot of these things are just beyond my, pay grade for those kind of things. So I'd say for everybody, have someone that you can call upon quickly to fix, any major problems, because unfortunately they do pop up, and sometimes it's your fault, and sometimes it's just the plugin wasn't updated. I hate updating plugins. I just never want to do it, and I'm also trying to have less plugins because the more you have, the more potential problems you have,
more potential issues. So from a wish list side too, though, did you have to have somebody help you with that, or what was your experience with setting up wish list?
No, Wishlist was pretty easy to set up. The page builders today, even just from 5 years ago, are just way better. You can pretty much do, anything on them these days. Occasionally, I do put through a tech support call to Thrive, just saying, hey, how do I do this? Sometimes just because you're having to deal with your site, does it look good on a desktop? Does it look good on a tablet and look good on mobile? Mobile, sometimes it just looks terrible when you first do it. So you have to kind of spend a lot of time to tweak it out. And occasionally you're like, I can't get it to work. So, and Thrive's pretty good about that. They get back to you quickly and they'll solve those. So but those are things that you'll just come across. I say just kind of one more final thing for people.
Sure.
Make sure you're backing up your site a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have a little schedule and I do it and it automatically backs up. I hired a service just because I once had something crashed, and when I went back into my hosting, like the earliest backup was like 3 days earlier, and I was like, oh my God, I did so much work. I don't even know what I did, kind of thing. So now I'm just really, I back it up pretty much every day, and I sometimes download a copy to my desktop just in case, the hosting goes fries or something. I think you can't be almost the more work you've got in it, you can't be too paranoid about not losing
No, for sure. Well, it's the whole
work.
business too, the website. Just so people know, which backup service is it that you're using in case they want to check it out?
I actually using Securi.
Okay.
It's inexpensive. I think GoDaddy actually owns them. I think it's like $5 a month or something, and they back up every day. It's come in handy. I have gone in, and one of the nice features is that you can restore not just you can restore everything, or you can just restore the database, or just the files, or both. So, and occasionally I'm like, oh, I've got a big problem. Something just crashed. Just restoring the database, fixed it, and that just
Gotcha.
backs up automatically. So, for $5 a month, that I found that's you know, been
A
worth it.
lifesaver. Yeah, for sure. So one of the questions that I always try to ask people, and we're kind of wrapping up to the end here, and it's obviously different for every industry, but just for yours specifically, what have you found to be kind of the best sales strategy or the best traffic strategy for getting new people to see your offer, and these sorts of things? Like how are you getting new members?
Mostly in mostly from Google Ads, just because I can kind of target what people are looking for.
Yeah,
I have expanded out to Facebook, and more recently, I wouldn't say it's kind of it's an experiment. You have to keep trying things.
sure.
All my funnels, like the one I showed you earlier about with the quiz, that's also new. I haven't really stepped up the advertising on that too, just because
Sure.
part of the back end of that is the new course, which was just done a few days ago.
Right.
So, and YouTube's another one that I'm kind of looking into, kind of giving more free content and stuff. That's the big challenge for small businesses. It's easy to spend a lot of money and not get results. So you really have to be, really pretty picky about how you do it. And I've just kind of taken the thing. I'd rather do it slower and get it right than just blow a
Sure.
ton of money. And there's a few other things I've done too. You can do different mailings through other companies and things. So, and
Okay.
affiliates too is another one.
Affiliates. Yeah, I always try to show people, because I guess like in certain industries, certain ways of getting new customers, that's just kind of the standard. And sometimes when you look at maybe a different industry, and they're doing something a different way, and you're like, oh, well, I can take that and bring it over to my market. And so I always like to ask that question. So I guess just kind of as a final question, before we wrap it up, is do you have, and you've given a lot of it already, but do you have any kind of final advice for anyone who is maybe thinking about starting a membership site, just right at the beginning stages?
I think back to the same answer as, do your homework first. It's worth spending the time. Well, first, I think the biggest thing is take the time to do your research before you even start doing anything. Make sure there's a market for whatever you're selling. There's actually a great book. It's called Ask by Ryan Levesque, and it just goes into the whole process of how do you, because once you go down this rabbit hole, it's easy to spend a lot of time and money, and without knowing is, what are you doing this for? And sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you might be in too big of a market,
Yeah.
or you might be in too small of a market, or you might be in a market that you go, oh, this is great, and you realize to get any traffic from Google or something, it's going to cost you $100 a lead, and so you realize then you can't really compete, because remember, you're in a lot of markets, you're competing against a lot of really big players. So you're trying to always maybe find your little niche. I think I found mine because I'm kind of doing things that no one else is really doing, especially on the market trend advisory side. There's a lot of stock picking services. For me, I like to keep it non-hypey. There's so many super hypey,
Mm.
you get these kids online. I made $7 million this morning. And in fact, I just saw one guy, he literally, the video popped up, and he's like taking his camera and he shows his Wells Fargo bank account. It was like 590,000. He goes, this is just one of my accounts. And then he's getting into his Lamborghini going, he goes, obviously I'm successful, so listen to me. It just, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's not me at all. I just trying to give the real information, real facts, things that really work, not a lot of hype. And I think that's I think people appreciate that. That's
Yeah,
that's my. You want to be yourself. I'm not a super hypey person, so I would
sure.
never do that kind of thing. Um, but again, just going back to the final part of that was just you got to just really test everything out before you go down the path, and then once you determine, yes, I think whatever you're looking to do is going to work, then spend the time in looking at the different page because the main components are your page builders. You have your membership plugins, and you're going to have your shopping cart. And I actually started off. I thought, I just use like Stripe free. So it was like because I thought I don't want because they're expensive, and I thought I don't know
Yeah.
which one to go with, and I finally realized I got past the thing. Am I even going to get customers? I got past that. Then I spent a lot of time, which is a good shopping cart, but it's also going to work well with Wishlist, and it's going to work well with Aweber because those two,
Right.
I Wishlist right off the bat. I went, this works. I don't have any problems with it. It's going to do everything that I want to do in the future if I want to. So that's great. So that piece is done. Then I went to the mailing list. Aweber just works for me. It does everything I want to do. There's plenty of solutions, but that one works for me, and it's inexpensive relatively. And then the final one is the page builder, and that's one that you're going to spend a lot of time there. So it's got to be one that
Yeah.
works, and they all have to work together. And so once you get that, it takes a lot of pressure off you trying to figure out what am I doing. But it's worth spending the time up front to get those pieces, and also in the advertising, do a little testing. Is this something that you can advertise? One final thing: when I first started, all the way back, I started advertising, I think the stocks course, and immediately my account got banned off of Google, literally like within an hour.
Oh
And
man.
I don't even know why. I spent almost 9 months getting it back, and it's like almost impossible because there's no. So again, you don't want to, and also that's another lesson is that don't rely on just one traffic source because
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I had only been relying on that and I got banned, that was it. All that work I'd done, I can't even advertise. So
Mm.
so, anyways, there's lots of lessons and things that go on, but just in terms of the back end and the membership sites, yeah, just look for those three main pillars to really work together nicely, and you'll have a lot less problems.
Love that. So basically, do your homework, validate and test your idea, and be authentic, be yourself. So I think it's a
Yeah.
great piece of advice. Well, Michael, I do appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this with us. If someone who's watching is interested, where should they go to learn more about you or what you're doing?
Well, the website is lifetimeinvestor.com. And again, it's just for stock investors. It can be for people that are beginners, if they're advanced. And we just kind of, as I kind of showed in the, let me go back to we just, there's basically the four things that people need to learn. And we're just kind of giving people the data and the information to become successful
Hmm.
in, using proven methods of that work in the market. And there's so much hype in the stock market, but a lot of things that don't work. Just trying to simplify it and say, hey, if you like the first part of it, if you're investing only when the market is in an uptrend and you're not investing in a bear market, you're already way ahead of most people. If you know what stocks to buy and you're buying leading stocks, in other words, stocks that are making new highs while the market's in a bear market like we are now, you're already way ahead of people that are buying these beaten down companies. And if you understand the money management side of it, which is the course that we don't have yet, but will come soon, then you know how much should I invest when that time comes. And then, of course, if you end up with a nice stock winner, when do you sell it? That was the final piece we just did, is that now you'll get an idea, hey, the stock is starting to not act correctly. It's giving off sell signals. That gives you
Uh,
so when you put it all together, it's giving you a system basically of just knowing when to buy, the time to buy, when to sell, when to be out, and then eventually the money management side of it. So, and it all works. That's the key, and it's we're just using proven systems and ideas that have been working for decades, and without a lot of hype. So it's just got to work.
Well, awesome. And if you're watching this and that sounds like something you want to check out, I'm going to have a link below as well. Lifetimeinvestor.com. That's Michael's site. But again, thank you, Michael, for coming on here and just sharing all of this because there's people who are watching this who are going to be new membership site owners, people who've done it for a long time, and I'm sure that they've gleaned some value out of it, of something you've shown. And so, because there was a lot of cool stuff that we saw. So thanks again, and hope we can talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I really appreciate you having me on, and it's been great. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.